Hey everyone, good to see you. So excited to be here today, but is it Monday? I don't know. It feels like it's either Monday or April Fool's Day because we just had so many tech issues one after the other. So we're getting a little bit of a late start, but thank you for being here. I know a lot of you will be watching after on the replay, but for those of you that are here live, we love to hear your questions. So participate. If you have comments, we'd love to hear what you have to say. This is a very, very exciting topic. But for those of you first that don't know who I am, or it's been a while, I'm Marla Press, and I am a public speaking coach. I really focus on the delivery of your talk because you can have ChatGPT write your speech for you these days, and a lot of people are doing that, but you can't have ChatGPT or any AI deliver it for you. That's the most important part. And communication is only 7% your words anyway. It's 70% your energy, which is a combination of your not just body language, but your facial expressions, especially on Zoom, your confidence, your passion, and your conviction. So all of that is really important. And that's what I help you do. But I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Leela O'Brien, today. She is amazing. And because her bio is so powerful, I'm going to read it to you because I don't want to miss any parts of it. And then she's going to tell us all about herself too. But let me just tell you that Leela and I met recently, but I was so impressed with what she does. And I'm so excited about this topic. She is a space scientist and also an engineer and a creativity coach. This is really, really cool. She received a bachelor's in physics and a PhD in um, in don't tell me. Wait a minute. In aerospace engineering. So I'm doing this from the top of my head because I know so much about Leela. And she has spanned from conceptualizing and running experiments relative to nuclear fusion to space physics research and instrument development investigating the interaction between interplanetary dust particles and the solar wind. Now come on, that's impressive. She worked as an instrument engineer at the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics, leading the development of the detector for the Surface Dust Analyzer instrument that is on board now, the NASA Europa Clipper mission that is en route to Jupiter's moon. Why is this important? Because she has used her brilliance, which obviously she's got so much brilliance. She's used her brilliance and her genius, and she uses her creativity to have gotten as far as she got in her career. And it's really Leela's personal story, which we're going to dive into in just a moment, and her strong abilities that drove her to become a creativity coach. She inspires and helps individuals tap into their creativity and sense of exploration to unlock your inner genius and boost innovation, impact, and fulfillment in your professional and your personal life. And they go hand in hand, don't they? Through her unique explorer mindset, I can't wait to hear about that coaching program, Leela helps people push past boundaries and discover what is possible for them. She guides people to wire their brains for creative and exploratory thinking, enabling them to uncover the richness in their lives and work and reach their highest potential. On a personal note, Leela expresses herself creatively through the art of dance and choreography. And we have that in common, although she's a professional ballerina. I'm not so much, but I have done a lot of choreography and I love dance and expression. So she's also a rock climber. And oh my gosh, she's got so much that we can't fit it all in right now. But let's go right to Leela. I'd love to hear about your personal story, because I know it's a really powerful one, and how it led you to really want to help others with creativity.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that lengthy, wonderful introduction.
I know it was long,
Uh,
right? It's so important that people know, that you have this background, because a lot of people call themselves a creativity coach, and it's more about they're an artist, right? And for you, it's so much more than that. Creativity is about problem solving and really creating something new in your life. And so, yeah, tell us about it.
yeah, and that's just the message I want to deliver, that yeah, creativity can be applied to everything you do. It's not just for artists, it's for scientists, it's for, people creating their own businesses. It's for everyone. Creativity is, I believe, an innate part of us and who we are. And I'll get more into that later on. But yeah, to talk about my story. Um, so when I was a child, I was very, very creative and imaginative. Like I spent most of my days hopping along in the rocks in my front yard, just creating stories in my mind. And I could do this for hours and hours. So it was always something that I just loved and did naturally, was explore my imagination, think about things in new ways, create new worlds for myself. And I took this with me as I grew older. I became a ballerina and just poured a lot of my love for artistic expression and choreography and just yeah, creativity through dance. And then when I went to college, I decided to study physics. And this was quite a jump for me, because going from being a ballerina, someone who thought that they were very much an artist and, you know, a I saw myself as like a little creative fairy, to going into the hardest science you could possibly study, which is physics. It did
Right.
feel like almost not possible for me at first, or not that it didn't feel possible, it felt like it wasn't who I was, but I was thinking, well, this is interesting to me. I want to explore physics. I'm intrigued by it. Let me see what I can learn. And so, yeah, I studied physics in my undergraduate. And I remember going into my studies with just bright eyed and bushy tailed, so excited to learn. One of the first books that I read was Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I had so many ideas swirling in my mind. And it was just, I felt like I was going to be one of those people who was pushing the creative boundaries in science, because I was so um, um, positively influenced by Stephen Hawking. And as I went throughout my studies, I got sucked into that goal-driven attitude, the competition, competing with your peers, trying to get the highest grades and get into the best graduate schools. And so over time, I started losing that sense of creativity and curiosity that I
Mhm.
always thought I would apply to my studies and my explorations in science. And I just became very, very goal centric. And as I entered into graduate school, I decided to study space physics and was really excited by this new path, because exploring the inner workings of the universe is really, really exciting. And for a while, again, I was tapping into that creativity again, just being very exploratory. I would come up with ideas, create experiments, test them out, write papers, and create ideas for building space instruments to go on future space missions. And again, for a while, I felt like I was tapping into that brilliance and really loving it. But then again, I was deep down battling with that other part of myself that became so success driven. I would think about my goals and what I needed to achieve, how I could impress my superiors, and what I looked like to the science community. And I realized that this was actually stifling my creativity. I was no longer coming up with my own ideas. I was too afraid to test them out, to present them to people I was working with or write papers on the things that I was really excited about. And instead just, went down the kind of cookie cutter track of you
Yeah.
got to do what you got to do to impress everyone and reach your goals and be successful. And around that time I graduated and I was very pleased with the work I had done, but I already felt like I was hitting burnout. I could feel that spark that was always within me to explore and be creative. I saw it starting to dwindle and burn out. And at that time, I took my job that I had as an engineer working on the Europa Clipper mission, the one that's going to Europa to search for the possibility for life. And that was a really cool, exciting mission. But and it was everything I had wanted in my career and that I was so excited about. But just, I just didn't feel myself. I really felt, I guess, I felt burnt out. But the reason I felt burnt out was because I really felt like I had to hold back creatively, and I just felt like I had this great mind that I just couldn't access anymore because I was too focused on getting everything done, just chasing my goals, and just, I guess, solidifying my reputation in the
Yeah.
community as a scientist and engineer.
I'm wondering if you have a sense of how much of that was internal, your own pressure on yourself, and how much came from the science environment or the specific work environment you were in.
That's a great question. I think it's a mixture. I think most of the pressure was what I put on myself
Mhm.
because I had become a perfectionist. I had gotten a lot of praise for the work I was doing, and that made me feel good about myself. So I wanted to keep getting that praise. I wanted to um, build up that reputation. I wanted people to look at me as a smart person. But part of it's also in the community and society. I would say societally,
Yeah.
societal. It's the environment of a lot of times you'll propose an idea you have, and other scientists will make you feel like it's stupid. And this doesn't always happen, but it is present in the communities. And so it is sometimes challenging to put your ideas out there and get people to look at it in a way that they um, support it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but
Big shout out to Jessica Lynn. Hey, Jessica Lynn, good to see you here. And yeah, she's saying we really do put so much pressure on ourselves. Whew. So thanks for that comment, Jessica Lynn. Yes, absolutely. Even if you're not a scientist, right? There's all kinds of ways that we put pressure on ourselves. And it really is sometimes not only to our emotional detriment, but even our physical detriment. So do you want to say a couple things about that? And then we're going to move on to like, what can people do about this and how can they be more creative? But for now, yeah, talk a little bit more about how it affected your personal life and your health and why you really had this major pivotal moment that you moved on to becoming a creativity coach.
yeah. So like I said, I became incredibly burnt out, and I was in the middle of working on this, multi-million dollar mission, and there was just no room for error. But was I got so burnt out that I could not get any work done. It was really something I'd never experienced before. I
Mhm.
would just sit at my computer and just start crying because nothing would get done. My brain just shut down basically. And I kept trying to push through. I thought there's something wrong with me because I'd never experienced this kind of burnout before, that I just thought, you just got to keep pushing and pushing. And I pushed myself to the point where I developed a chronic illness, like a physical illness. I got COVID in um, 2020, and it turned into long COVID. And that chronic illness impaired my cognitive and motor function. And I hung on to that job as long as I could, but it became so severe that I decided to resign from basically my
Mhm.
dream career. And that
Oh,
was really, really challenging for me. This was everything I'd worked so hard for. And now it was gone. And I was very sick. I was unable to be physically active. And like Marla said, I'm a dancer and a rock climber, and I get a lot of joy from those activities. And I was pretty much bedbound at home for a long time. But
yeah. So it's possible, and of course you'll never know, but it's possible that, we can blame some of that on COVID, because COVID is a pretty difficult disease, no doubt. And quite a few people have gotten long COVID, which is horrible. But how much of that too was your body or something inside you telling you, hey, we need to do something different here? So I just thought I'd throw that out, because we don't know the answer to that, but it is interesting, right? To think about, how we got to where we are. Yeah. And so it affected your health and it affected your career. Yes. And, and I'm sure that it was a difficult moment for you to think about giving something up that you'd worked so hard for. Yes. And so what drove you to become the creativity coach?
yeah, so it was in that experience, and like you said, I really do think the burnout pushed me to that level. It really, the stress that I was experiencing was so high that it set me up for physical illness. Um, and but it also, I see it as part of my story, and it's what's led me back to finding my creative flair again. And how that happened was I wasn't doing anything. I was at home doing nothing, being bored, and as a lot of times they say, creativity comes from boredom.
Mhm.
And I finally felt free at the same time. I had no job to succeed at anymore. I didn't have any goals other than to just get better. And this opened up this sense of freedom within me that I could really finally explore my mind and my experience of life in the way I had done when I was younger. And I, because I had so much time to just be aimlessly creative and playful, that's what I did. I would just be, sitting in bed and listening to music and just let my imagination go to wherever it wanted to go. Like, I didn't put limits on myself anymore.
Mm.
And the interesting thing about this was through that, it created within me a desire to learn how to adapt physically. So at the time, I had lost a lot of motor function. I couldn't even open a
Mm.
jar.
Wow.
I was having trouble walking, and I decided, well, let me just see what happens. Let me try and move and be creative with it. So it was this creativity that um, allowed me to adapt, to figure out how to move better again, and eventually I relearned how to rock climb, dance, and over time, I recovered pretty greatly from my chronic illness. So I realized the power of this, really tapping into creativity and being exploratory and just really exploring what's possible for you when you don't set limits on yourself. And so that was what really prompted me to become a creativity coach and go down this path, because I saw how powerful it was, not only in the realms of arts and sciences, but also in what you can do for healing, the body, and I mean, adapting. And we have to adapt in everything in our lives, not just if you have a disability or an illness, but adapting is comes from creativity. And I think when we can think creatively, we can deal with these tough situations in our jobs, in our lives. And
Absolutely. And Jessica says, when you talk about creativity, you light up. So, and Jessica is just a beautiful human being who I know, and she is very in tune with people's energy. And oh my gosh, yeah, you nailed it, Jessica. Yeah, she definitely does light up when she talks about creativity. And it's so important because, like you said, it's not about dance and art and those kinds of creative arts, but it's about just creating anything in your life and being able to, like you were there and you weren't feeling good, to say the least, and almost can't even walk. And yet you're thinking, okay, how can I create something good out of this? Instead of, you could have just sat there feeling sorry for yourself, right? Because a lot of people will do that. So the fact that you were able to create something wonderful from that experience is amazing. And I know you do work with a lot of high achieving people, probably more women than men, but you work with women and men both. And but high achievers, because that's your background. And so talk just a minute about what it's sort of the difference between being driven by goals and high achievement, and using this creativity and exploratory mode to create your life.
Yeah. So, being first, I want to start off with being driven by goals and wanting to succeed and do well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that's part of being human. And I want to acknowledge that. I'm not saying that we should not be goal driven, but there are some downsides to being overly goal driven. For instance, as I was saying, it stifles your creativity because when we're so driven by success, we set the stakes so high for ourselves, and when we set the stakes really high, we are really we're really trying to protect our egos, and we don't have that boldness to really see fully where our minds can go and explore that because on a subconscious level, we feel like it's unsafe. And so, in that sense, we are limiting how we can be innovative and really tap into our full potential, both in our professional and our personal lives. But being really success and goal oriented also drives more competition and self doubt as well. And that can be harmful because it impedes us from collaborating with other people. And I experienced this in my job a lot. I wasn't as competitive, but I had a lot of self-doubt. And because of that, I was less likely to collaborate with some of my coworkers and share my
Mm.
ideas, especially my more like wild ideas. And I kept a lot of it to myself. Whereas if I did not feel held back in that way, I think those ideas we could build on that together and collaborate more to create new things in our professional space. So,
Yeah, I think that that's really important what you're saying there, because I think that, it's funny because somebody might look at you and say, "Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. She's so smart. How could she ever have any self-doubt?" Right? And, but like we all do, right? It's not, it's really not about what you've accomplished. It's about something internal. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it's amazing how so many, because I've worked with executives and different people that have accomplished a lot, and yet there's still some self-doubt there that they haven't quite figured out how to get rid of. And you may not have that now, but at some point, even at the height of your success in your other career, you were definitely experienced some of that, and it affected the way you communicated with your coworkers, and probably the way you just came off to them, even non-verbally, right? So it's really important. The energy piece is so important, and I do help people with that. But I just want to point that out, because some people might look at you and go, "Hey, she's got it all together." But we all struggle with different things. And thank you for sharing your story. I think it's going to help a lot of people. So I want to hear more about, what can people do now to create this. You've got two things. You're talking about creativity, but you're also talking about the exploratory mind. Now, I know what creativity is in many ways. I don't know if I know what you mean by exploratory mind. So can you talk a little bit about what that means, and then what people can do to create that in themselves?
yeah, absolutely. So, when I came up with this explorer mindset practice, I was involving actually a lot of what I had learned through my experience with like alpine rock climbing. And I think creativity and exploration go hand in hand.
Mm,
So what part of like my program, what I teach people to do or help people guide people to do is to become an explorer. And when you're an explorer, you can tap into that creativity a lot more easily because so what I propose is like I call it the four C's: curiosity, creativity, courage, and connection. And
mm,
those are the traits of an explorer. So curiosity, so I give clients strategies to um, practice curiosity. And I people will say all the time, be curious, but it's a lot of times it's easier said than done because if
yeah,
you think about it
absolutely.
throughout our days, we don't really think that it's worth our time to just be aimlessly curious and just think about random things and let our minds wander. But that is such a critical piece to actually becoming a creative thinker and being an explorer is to allow your mind to wander, ask the questions, come up with possible answers. And it doesn't even have to just be work related or something you're focused on. I think the keys to do that just throughout the day in general, like
Mhm.
whenever these like ideas or thoughts pop into your mind, see where they go, entertain them. And over time, you see you're wiring your brain to be more curious, and you'll find yourself thinking more like that when you're doing your work and problem solving, or maybe when you're in a life situation that's a struggle where you need to be good at problem solving.
Yeah. Can
So,
you mention the 4 C's again?
yeah, so
And
it's
say what they are? Yeah.
curiosity,
Okay.
creativity, courage, and connection.
Yeah, lovely. Love that. Yeah, and I love that you said too, entertain your curiosity,
Yeah.
entertain your ideas, because yeah, it's not just about asking a question and then letting it go. It's playing with it, right, and
Mhm.
exploring it, as you would say. So
Exactly.
those are great, great, great things for people to develop. Right, it's sort of like anything else. We have to condition ourselves. We have to develop this in ourselves. We can't just intellectually think about it, but to really work on it. That's why I'm sure your workshop is so helpful for people. But can you just tell us a couple more things that people could do in their daily life right now to develop these?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, for curiosity, let your mind wander, entertain those thoughts. In terms of creativity, we're putting that curiosity into action, or not necessarily action, but we're creating from it. So let yourself create new ideas, let yourself explore your imagination, and let yourself be playful. So for me, I think going out in nature, spending time in nature, letting myself just create ideas from that experience, as well as listening to music and dancing. I'm a dancer. It looks different for everyone where their creativity comes from, but you find those things in your life that light you up, and you let yourself create ideas or create experiences or even create something tangible. In terms of courage, that's another piece of the big puzzle of this explorer mindset. If you don't have the courage to put your creativity into action, or like go the distance with your mind and let your mind go to those wild places, you won't be able to access your full potential, and then you won't be able to apply it in your life and get the full benefit and the full rich experience of exploring your mind in that way. So that's where courage comes into play. And what you can do courage wise is put yourself out of your comfort zone on the daily. And
Mm,
it can
yeah.
be a very small thing. It doesn't have to be something big. Like maybe you go to a social experience that, if you're more if you're not as social, or that is a fear of yours, you put yourself out there and be social. Or if, I'm a rock climber, but say there's something physically that you're afraid of, go dabble in it a little. Just push your boundaries a little bit, or go propose a crazy idea to a coworker. And so, just little by little, the more we take courageous actions like that, and I like to call it have mini adventures each day. Like it can be the
Mm.
smallest thing, like even breaking up your routine slightly and being spontaneous. That is going to wire your brain to take risks more often, and then you can actually fully like explore how brilliant you are and what you can contribute to the world, because the fear of taking risk and the fear of failure and judgment holds us back. So that's where that piece of courage fits in. And
I
then
love that because we think of courage as such a big thing, right? Like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm courageous, but these little steps, and like you said, it actually rewires our brains. We're like, we have this neuroplasticity. We can rewire our brains, but we have to try. We have to give it new things and try new things and new pathways and little steps. Absolutely is, if you have a big step, great, go for it. But the little steps is where most of us need to go. And it's so, so powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like it doesn't have to be big. It's a little by little. And then you're just, yeah, like you said, with neuroplasticity, you're slowly rewiring your brain to be more okay with these kind of actions. And then the last one, connection, that just ties it all together. Connection is what makes you feel present and connected to yourself, other people, this world, your source. So I always see connection as do what lights you up. Find moments in your day that make you feel alive, a sense of wonder, a zest for life, because that is one's greatest fuel, is that passion, that curiosity, the intrigue. And when you feel connected to your world and yourself and your existence, you're so lit up that you just want to you just want to explore all day long. Like that's all you want to do. At least that's like the state that I'm in right now. I just love to learn. I love to grow. I love to explore this life, and I think it's so important just to, yeah, like maintain that childlike sense of wonder to feel connected.
Don't you all want to be as lit up as Leela is when she talks about this? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I love that you talked about connection in a different way because most of us think connection, oh, it means, I have to go out and be social. But connection, which we all crave so much right now because we are all so online and in the information age and we're disconnected in a lot of ways, but connect to nature, connect to yourself, connect to your environment. There's so many ways you can connect that isn't necessary. And social connection, really, really important, makes you live longer. But there's a lot of ways to connect. And how can we be more connected in general? So I love that you brought that up. That is fabulous. All right, great. So you have this at the bottom of the screen there, we have Leela has a gift for you that is for everybody listening. Can you tell us about what that is?
Yes. So for this time right now, anyone who's interested, you can book a complimentary 30-minute session with me, and I will go deeper into these strategies of how you can tap into your creativity and adopt this explorer mindset. And what I do with you is we can address a goal of yours, or what you want to create in your life right now, what you feel is missing, and we can dive deep into the personalized strategies for how you can tap into your creativity and your unique brilliance, and so you can bring that to life and share it with the world and feel fulfilled in this life. And it looks different for everyone. So I get excited with each person I work with to figure out what is your creative genius and how can you share it with the world, and how can you find that just passion for life and desire to explore. So I look forward to working with whoever is interested in this offer. I can say this, I've held some creative gatherings in the past with women, and we go over these kind of strategies, and it just blows their minds. It's incredible to see the transformation, how someone goes from their mundane day to a session with me and just feeling like they're like a child again, and just to see
Mm.
their minds open up and what they are capable of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, everyone should take advantage of this because, oh my gosh, it's not just fluff. She's saying she's going to take a specific goal of yours. So this is very personalized.
Yes.
Take a specific goal of yours and help you be more creative with it and live your full potential. So definitely take advantage of that. You see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen there, and you can't click on it directly, but come on, it's easy enough. LeelaO'Brien.com/landing page. And you can grab that time with her before she runs out of space. So be one of the first ones to do that. And Leela, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. I think everybody needs to get more creative and definitely have more passion and more connection. So any last words of wisdom that you want to tell us about?
um, yeah, thank you so much, Marla. I really appreciate this. And I guess my last words of wisdom, um, not my own, actually, Rick Rubin said this, is that creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It is for everyone. So each and every one of you is creative and brilliant.
Mm.
And you just gotta be bold enough to tap into it and excited enough to see where it goes.
I love that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been a blast. Hope everybody, if you're watching on the replay, go ahead and leave a comment. We will look at it. We will respond to all of your comments. And thank you for joining us. And we have to do this again, Leela. This has been great.
Yes, I would
All
love
right.
to. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.